Okay, so it's time for Bleach or Blech, um, however you want to say it, right? Uh, so basically, Aizen is hurt, but he's not dead, obviously, and that's really it. But I thought one of the interesting things in the beginning, it was just situational irony, was the fact that basically the one who was trying to enter the Soul Palace in the beginning was Aizen, and he's going, but basically the ones that stopped him are the ones that enter before him. So it's like shit, and we see a really ominous look from Aizen. So he he definitely holds a grudge against Ichigo. So there's gonna be something there, and we see an ass shot of Yoroichi for whatever reason, just because she's about to kick um, or knee. I'm sorry, Ichigo in the back, and basically wakes him up. And then we see what happened after Uryu shot him. Basically, they just saved him with Santen Keshun and the others. But it was funny because Ichigo hit his head on like basically everything, including Orihime, who has been stated to have a very very hard head. I remember they had clashed heads before, and I believe Ichigo lost that encounter, and he did again. So, but it was funny because Cone came out in like this buff ass thing and basically hit or basically uh like saved them or something. So of course he abuses Cohen as usual, and you know Yorwich is like it's time for our revenge basically, and Orihime healed her arm and shit, so I mean that's fine. Um, but yeah, like the chapter in terms of progression was pretty minimal because most of that panel time was showing like how Ichigo was uh, was saved, and finally he's out. Grimjow has come out of the closet. I mean, he's come out of the dimension, the Garganta, right? Is that what it's called? I think so. Uh, and the text says Karma brought him back. No, I think Grimjow brought himself back. Thank you very much. Or perhaps Kisuke. I don't know. He looks awesome, of course. Um, we all knew it was Grimjow. I mean, there was solid proof that it was Grimjow, or at least a solid indication, rather. And he's back. Grimjow's back. By far my favorite Espada. Um, I know a lot of people were saying, a lot of people liked Okiura the best. Personally, I didn't like Okiura that much, but Grimjow is the best. Sorry. Oh, Shokugeki no Soma spoilers are out. Um, I seem to always be interrupting my talks whenever Shokugeki no Soma has to do with it. But regardless, um, this chapter overall was good for a couple of reasons because of Aizen, um, more limits on him, which is good. But I think honestly, the main reason why this chapter worked was because of Grimjow and Yoroichi. I don't know. But Grimjow is like the fact that he's back is just good. All right, he can no longer dick tease Grimjow. He's back, and hopefully for good. So yeah, I mean everything's going like we're finally getting to this point where all of the stories are about to converge. Because if we talk about like what was happening, we had Kisuke's faction, which was him, and the humans, Orihime, Chad, etc. And then we had the Quincy faction, of course, and Uryu and Hoshvald, and we had all the Soul Reapers and Squad Zero. who basically have combined because Squad Zero has been defeated, and those who were at Squad Zero, Byakuya, Renji, Rukia, and Ichigo, have all been sent back, with the exception of Ichigo, because he was sent back and then he went back. So basically Ichigo has combined with Kisuke's faction, but at the same time Kisuke split off and joined the Soul Reaper faction. So those were all the factions, and now they've been reduced to 3 at this point. And they're all going to finally converge at the Soul Palace, and we'll see what's up after that. So I mean, it was very complicated in terms of how many different factions there were, and just splitting off and then joining and combining. It was like it was like science. It was like a bunch of proteins, like chemistry, like joining and then breaking off of each other and shit like that. I don't know. I'm not a chemistry major, but I do know something like that happens here and there, right? So yeah, this chapter wasn't bad, and so thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys maybe next week.
Welcome to this week's chapter review of Bleach, chapter 624, The Fang. And if honestly, I was kind of expecting this chapter to be a surprise based on the title, but anyway, basically what happens is that you find, the attack on Aizen last week has somehow, actually kind of stunned him for 5 minutes. And they talk about that and how oh well, it's surprising that you were able to that it someone was able to hold you off for that long with an attack, which he's disappointed in. And he's like, oh well, now's the time, since I'm so weak right now, maybe you should kill me. And yeah, the captain commander was like, oh well, if I wanted to it's if it was only if only it was that simple. And I just want you to sit here and wait until we have the doors, and then we go over to see that the Quincy's are now helping the Shikigami create the doors again. So I guess that's why that happened, with the door disappearing, because, we needed to, wait for the Quincy's to show up. Then we switch over to, Ichigo, and, see him falling, and, what happened, and there was they tried to insert some comedy, but, going stupid, right? He's just completely and utterly stupid. No one really gives a fuck about him right now. I certainly don't. And then we see that the Yorichi's arm gets recovered, gets healed, or should I say regrown, I should say, by Orihime. And now they realize that they've fallen a great distance, and they're like, well, how the hell are we gonna get out of here? Like, what the hell? How the hell are we gonna get out of here and get up there? It's like, oh well, I can try and create some Ryatsu footholds and get up there, and then you guys, Chad, can use Orihime's technique to get foothold and get up there. But what happens if we're attacked mid-air? Midway up there, we'll be sitting ducks. So, keeping that in mind, you're like, oh, the next thing you know, a doorway or Yorichi asks something to open, and a doorway starts to open, and as it's opening, you're like, wait a minute, isn't this the technique of the Arankar? And Ichigo's like, oh my god, what is it? I know that technique. And as it opens, we see finally, the long-awaited return of Grimjow has arrived. And now Grimjow has come to save the day and help them get up to the King's Palace. This week's chapter I thought was pretty good. We got some hope. The progression was a little better than the previous chapters. I mean, but I would have liked, because especially since we got Grimjow back in the picture and whatnot, and now it seems like the main focus of everyone who's not in the Soul King Palace right now is to get to the Soul King Palace. So hopefully everyone should be getting there or should be leaving and getting to the Soul Palace by the end of the next chapter. So it's fairly simple, but now we're starting to collect that team of people that are going to be taking on the new Soul King, Yuha Bak and his men. So it's definitely going to be a bloodbath with clashing of weapons and swords and all kinds of good stuff. And now, how's Aizen going to fit into the whole thing? Who knows? We'll just have to wait till next week. I know I usually am the one who talks forever, and rambles on a lot, but that's pretty much all I have to say. The chapter I thought was pretty good, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and see you guys next week.